ZOOMCAST. Log in and check it out at Grima.
We are on live. Welcome everybody to episode 13 of this humble little Zoomcast we've been doing right throughout 2020 and inspired by COVID and lockdowns and all of the stuff that, to be quite honest, we can put right behind us. Now, I'm Matt Grima, and today's special guest, geez, we've got one of the all-time greats in the industry. 18 years have been served in Marshall White colours, and tomorrow she's going to swag in to the Marshall White Christmas party with full steam. I speak, of course, of the very lovely Madeline Kennedy. Welcome, Mads.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Now you look good, Mads, and you look very relaxed as you're calling time on your tenure at Marshall White.
Mm-hmm.
To you, well played.
Thank you.
We've got this Zoomcast up and going and firing at about 9:20 the night before the Marshall White Christmas party. Mads, I wanted to get something out to our crew, if you like, about your journey through the ranks, how it all started for you, and then the progression through to making a decision to move on as a result of what COVID has thrown up in 2020. So welcome aboard and thanks for jumping on.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the beginning, Mads. A lot of people at Marshall White, obviously, that have worked with you throughout the bulk of that journey, but with a couple of new officers in addition to the solid four that have been around for a long period of time, there would be a lot of people that may not know the Madeline Kennedy story. And 18 years at any company or organisation is a bloody long time, and no doubt you've got a great tale or two to tell. But I thought I'd go back to the beginning, Mads, where it all started and how you actually became an agent at Marshall White.
Yeah, no worries, Matt. So it's 18 years, but it literally feels like, if you told me it was 8 years, I would, believe you, because I actually can't believe that 18 years has passed since I started at Marshall White. So prior to getting into real estate, I was a pharmaceutical rep.
Yeah, right.
So the drug runner, mainly selling to just retail pharmacy and that sort of thing, all over the counter, very much legal stuff. But got a little bit bored of that after a couple of years, and just decided that I needed a little bit more in my life. That was kind of a bit of a 10 till 3 job. I'd get my calls and my pharmacy visits done, and I'd be finished and think there's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of friends who were in real estate, so that kind of interested me a little bit. And at the time, I'd started going out with a guy by the name of Scott, who had his own real estate business out in the burbs in Mount Waverley.
Yep.
And suggested to him that I might want to give real estate a crack, and he insisted that if I was going to do it, it had to be with him. So anyone who knows Scott would understand what I mean by that. So started out selling literally cream brick veneers for $250,000. They're probably worth $2 million now, those same houses, just for the land. So I did that, and that was all pretty much private sale. And I was given a reverse phone book and a desk and a telephone and a little card system. That was the database back then, and did door knocking and cold calling, and basically just did that for a couple of years. And it was tough, but I got a kick out of it, and kind of got a bit addicted to the feeling of being entrusted with someone's home and then delivering, a solution to what they were trying to achieve. So then I was part of a mentor type group with Dr. Fred Gross, who a lot of people would be familiar with, and a lot of people at Marshall White have done some work with Fred, and was in a group where I met Andrew Hayne.
Yep.
And that would have been back in 2001 or thereabouts, 2001, before some of our people were born. So maintained contact with Andrew and I think Ray Tomlinson, and couple of other people were also in that group. So it came time, I decided that I wanted to get back into the area where I'd kind of grown up. I grew up in East Melbourne, and decided that I wanted to get back into that kind of marketplace where I had friends, parents, and different people who were living in those areas. And so I approached Andrew and said, "Do you think I could get a job at Marshall White?" And so he said, "Yeah, let's sort something out." So I started as John Moresby's PA.
Yep.
John, who's now at Jellis Craig.
Yep.
And still have a lot of respect for John. So he kind of gave me my start, thanks to Andrew's intro. And I worked as an admin / sales assistant for John. And that was back in 2003, I think it was, 2003.
Yep.
And got a bit of a taste for it there, and just kind of wanted to go to the next level with sales and things like that. And so then became a proper sales agent, started up my own little team, probably a little prematurely, started up my own team and got my own assistant and that sort of thing, and realised that I didn't really want to kind of work on my own, would prefer to work within a big team. Yeah. So joined Andrew Haynes' team, who consisted of, I think, John Manton was there at the time, and Jazzy Congold then joined us, and Dan Wheeler joined us. And so we were quite a bit of I think we're referred to back then as a bit of a super team, where you had lots of agents and lots of admin support. And so had a great time. It was a great fun team to work in. Really, really good. Incredible
journey. I want to unpack a little bit of that, Matt. So where does the drive, determination, self-motivation come from, if you like, to be working for an agency in Mount Waverley and then looking to clearly improve upon what you're already doing by seeking out some external third parties like a Dr. Fred Gross, who then in conjunction with that little mentor group then leads you to the likes of Hayne and Marshall White? How did that come about?
I think I've always just naturally strived to want to be better. I think anyone who stays in a stagnant kind of position and either thinks that they've made it to whatever it is, then it's kind of a slow decline from there. I think I've always had the belief that if you're not growing, you're kind of dying. So not in the real sense of the word, but you become stale. You can become stale and kind of think that you've done everything. And I think a lot of us have been at that point. I know I've been at that point again, in more recent times, where so I've always sought out third parties or mentors, or always been to ARIC. I think Tosti has definitely been to more than me, but I have been to pretty much every ARIC. I think I might have. We missed this year, but I might have missed one ARIC in 20 years.
Right.
So I've always had the desire to always learn, to find better ways of doing it, and how else can I do it, and never wanted to be standing still.
Yeah.
So Dr. Fred was part of that. That was more working on your mind and your beliefs and your psyche and what your mooring lines are, and just wanting to always be a better person.
Yeah. Right. And Madge, you provide and have for a long time, and I know myself personally and several others at the Albert Park office and other offices in Marshall White have benefited greatly from some of the advice that you've been kind enough to pass on. Do you think it's important that to be able to give back to some younger agents and inexperienced people in the industry? Do you find that important?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the way that a lot of us started back 20 or 30 years ago was tough. But we had to find a way, and we had to kind of learn through our errors, and it was all a bit clunky. But real estate was different back then. It's super competitive now. So I think it was always competitive, but everything, the standard on everything has increased significantly. So I've always, again, naturally wanted to help other people. So in one way, I wanted to continue growing, but in another way, I also want to be able to look at some of the younger agents coming through and have empathy for how hard it is. And if there's just a couple of little things that I can teach, and I certainly don't know everything, like I'm still learning, anything little that you can kind of gift to someone else, whether it's just a, maybe try this or try that dialogue, or do this strategy or whatever. I think if we can all help each other, like I think if we stop learning and we stop teaching, we don't have a business. So I've always wanted, and I've naturally kind of gravitated a little bit more towards the women, only because I think it is a bit of a tougher gig for the girls in the business. I think naturally we have an unfair advantage, but I still think it's a bit of a tougher gig for the women. So I have naturally kind of wanted to mentor or help or just give any little bit of assistance and encouragement to anyone who's having a crack. If they're having a crack, then we should be happy to help them.
Yeah. Well said, and that shines through, Mads, with the clientele that you have, and with the agents that have been fortunate enough to get some mentorship from you over the journey. Well done.
And me from them. I started. Mark Damon was one of my early coaches, and I used to go and see him on a Friday morning at 8:30, and he was so tough, like seriously so tough with me.
Was he really?
And they were, he's a mongrel, but a really, really lovable, amazing guy.
There's no chance he's tuning into this, by the way, so you can call him whatever you want.
But yes, he was my accountability coach. So there was about 5 or 6 of us who would traipse over to the Hawthorn office at 8:30 on a Friday morning. I was always hungover. And I'd get there and he'd say, "What have you done?" And I'd tell him, I'd say, "Okay, I've made 110 phone calls. I've done 6 appraisals. I've done, 2 listing appointments. I've signed up 1. I've got, this in the pipeline." And he'd say, "Not good enough.
Not good enough.
Not effing good enough." And he literally used to make me cry.
Which we're probably in a different era now, Mads, thank God. But Damon at the time, was he a gun? Was he?
No.
Okay, good. He's not going to tune in. I'm telling you.
This is before projects. He was a gun. Yeah.
Right.
Rusty and Damon were obviously running. They started the Hawthorn office, and then Hamish joined the team, and obviously lots of other amazing people joined the team, Dwayne and Stewie, and but initially it was in the little office in Auburn Road, and it was Tosti and Damon were the main, the 2 senior agents, and but he was great. He literally just he kept me accountable, and he just said, "You're better than that. Like that's not enough." So whereas some people like Dwayne and I used to be accountability buddies, and we were so soft on each other. Like I'd say to him, "Pie, I didn't make my calls this week. I only got to 50." And he'd say, "That's okay. It's all right." And then he'd tell me what he had done for the week. And I'd say, "Look, it's fine. Yeah. Don't worry, you can make up for it next week." Like useless, absolutely useless accountability buddies. Whereas Damon, I was so scared to turn up to that meeting and literally not have signed 2 authorities that week or made a couple of sales so he was very, very, he was instrumental in my first few years. He was amazing.
Hard, isn't it, Mads, to find the balance between wanting and different characters react differently to getting a bit of a rev or a kick up the bum.
That's right.
If a really talented real estate agent, somebody that's got plenty of runs on the board, looked at me, and it's happened before, and said, "Matty, mate, you've got to lift. Your numbers are down. You know what you're doing, but you don't do enough of it, for example. I need you to pull your finger out." Then you might have some respect and say, "Okay, well, he knows what he's talking about." Other people, you might not take the advice as well. So it is a balancing act from a leadership perspective to get that right, isn't it?
It is, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And they got to want to, like I wanted to learn. I wanted to do anything that I could to. So it's about timing and when people are ready, I suppose, to hear it.
Yep. Now that hunger and passion for learning seems to be or go hand in hand with the man that you like to walk life hand in hand with, the great James Redfern. And I don't know whether he's in the background there in Shoreham or whether he's got the jazz music playing.
he's telling me what to say. He's just over there. He's
The puppet hand. No, he's one of the greats. He's obviously incredibly passionate about learning and development at Marshall White. But, Matt, a lot of people don't know how you two became an item, how that all works. You work together, you live together, you sleep together, you eat together. For some people, that would not work. But for you two, you do it beautifully. How did it all happen?
I think it's it either works for people or it doesn't. And so many people said to us, "Oh my God, seriously, I could never do that." And that's fine. That's great. That's great for their relationship and good that they haven't tried it, because it doesn't work for everyone. But and that's not a reflection on their marriage or their relationship. They're better just not working together. And for some reason, James and I, it just did work. So we met at work. I remember like the first couple of weeks that I was at Marshall White and I was working in John Morrisby's team, and I was sitting in our little fish bowl that we used to call it. And James had just arrived back from a trip to the UK or trip around the world or something like that. And John Morrisby introduced me to him, and he said, "Now this is James Redfern. He's an English gentleman," and you know, it's so true of James. You know, like that description.
Did you feel like you'd met James Bond, Mads? Is that sort of a similar?
Yeah, kind of a blend between James Bond and Mr. Bean.
Very good.
In the nicest possible way.
Yep.
Oh, he's getting really cross. Did you know that he's got a terrible temper?
You
should hear him in the background. I better put mute. Hang on. But no, we were really good mates from the start. We didn't work together as such. We worked in different teams. I think there was a little bit of kind of crossover of managements and selling and that sort of thing. But we also did personal training together. So we had a group of Jack, James, Mark Williams. Who else was in that group? James McCormack. A few of us. We did personal training together on a Friday morning or a Thursday morning or something like that.
Right.
A little group up on Glenfair Road, Health by Design. So we used to do that. So we'd have a bit of fun doing that. And I guess, what was it, a few years later? No, 10 years later, 8 years later, things just evolved.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Network Group 1 gets you the gig at Marshall White. Network Group 2 gets you one of the all-time greats life partnership. That's very good.
Yeah.
What's the point of a story, Mads? It's to network, I reckon.
Yeah, I guess you just, and none of it was really, it just happened, you know. I guess none of it was intentional, or it was just, you know, if you do the right thing and you like getting to Marshall White, I was just asking the question and being brave enough to ask, is there a spot? And then so I was working with Andrew Hayne at the time, and we worked together. We had a fabulous time in Team Hayne for many, many, many years.
Yep.
Really, and obviously learned a lot. You know, from being in that team with John, and you know, John's just seriously one of the funniest blokes you'll ever meet. So we had lots and lots of fun together.
Yeah.
And that was good. But then it got to a point where James and I had since hooked up.
Yep.
And it was kind of like, well, if it's kind of seemed a bit strange working in the same company but not working together.
Yep.
When we could be working together and, you know,
yep,
working, you know, that way. So I left Team Hayne, and after many, many happy years, and joined James's team, and you know, that's been us for the last 10 years or 8 years or something, I think, since we worked together.
Mads, I see a younger version of you and James, not that you're old, by the way, but a younger version of you and James at the Albert Park office with the likes of Georgia Whitford and Ben Manolitza.
Yeah.
Recently engaged. They work for the same company, work in the same office. Two nicer people you couldn't meet, and their relationship on and off the field is beautiful. They don't work in the same team, which is interesting. Manolitza's just an absolute phone assassin. Works really, really well with Oliver Bruce. And Georgia Whitford, one of the best buyer managers I've ever seen in my life. And I say that.
Yeah, agree. Yeah.
She is a freak with buyers.
Yes.
She works with the great Justin Hollard and Nick Hu. And they all bounce off each other really, really well, but that works well for them.
Yeah.
So if anybody's wanting to start an inter-office relationship tomorrow at the Christmas party, Mads and James are a perfect proof that, it can work in the long run if you hang in there.
Exactly.
Mads, long run, talk to me about 2020 in particular. Let's shift focus a little bit. COVID has caught everybody off guard. But we know that, geez, we're in a good space at the moment, and touch wood, it continues, particularly in our part of the world. Hopefully that vaccines and all that sort of stuff can get in play quickly. But for the bulk of 2020, Mads, it's been tough for a lot of people. And I know sitting in Shoreham and enjoying more time with your family and your children, and James in particular, has been outstanding. But there would have been some tougher moments, no doubt. Talk me through your 2020 and summarise how you've got to where you've got to.
Yeah. So an interesting year, Matt, that no one would ever have predicted could even be possible. So the start of 2020 was looking really good. We had a great end of 2019, and everyone, I think, was really very positive and excited about what the market would hold for 2020. Yeah. And certainly started well. And then we started to get a few little, I remember one day my dad said to me in Feb, do you think this coronavirus thing will affect the market? And at that point it was, the bat in China and all of that sort of thing where it had started. And I scoffed, and he reminds me of this. And I said, Dad, don't be ridiculous, as if that could possibly happen. But who would have thought that, kind of a month or 6 weeks later, we'd be inundated and we'd be, talking about lockdowns and all of that sort of thing. So I'm kind of philosophical about everything in life. And maybe that's because I've been fortunate that nothing really, really bad has ever happened to me. So I'm certainly not belittling or making light of things, that happen. Because I know a lot of people have suffered, great losses in their life. Yep. But you kind of just roll with the punches if you can. And I always think, what can we learn from it? What's the outcome going to be? Let's just see what happens, sort of thing. And that's not a kind of irresponsible kind of roll with the punches type thing. But it's just, let's just see what life is going to serve up, and then we'll deal with it. So I'm not one to worry about something that hasn't happened yet. Yep. And if and when it does happen, let's deal with it. Let's do what we have to, because I think that's all kind of just wasted energy and stress to worry about something that hasn't happened yet. So I think end of March came, and by then I think we'd been moved to home, because I think Marshall White did it a couple of weeks earlier in preparation for what was coming. And we decided to move down to our little beach house in Shoreham, which we just enjoyed the Christmas summer break down here. Yep. And I don't think we'd been home in Armidale for maybe a month before we came back again. But we'd only bought this little beach house this time last year, so it was only a relatively, new and exciting thing. And I remember James and I just thought, let's just go down to Shoreham, just while this thing blows over. Yep. Blows over, thinking it would be a couple of weeks or a month. Just a bit more space for the kids, because the house we had in Armidale didn't have much backyard, and they'd spend, a couple of hours at the park a day. And if that wasn't allowed, then what would we do? So we came down here, and I think then we were into April, and, April was a bit of a strange month because we had sales, everyone was in, like, what do we do? How do we do real estate? Yeah. No one's going to buy, because everyone was waiting for the whole world to fall off the cliff. Yeah. But we kind of, we scraped, everyone as a team, we all kind of got through it, didn't we? Like, amazingly, everyone just said, okay, let's just buckle up and do what we have to do. And the company was amazing, the board was amazing, and Simon, and everyone just kind of said, okay, rallied and said, let's pull everyone together. And I think the company did a great job from that point of view, just diffusing stress and anxiety. Yeah. But one thing, I think I mentioned it the other day, one thing that I'd heard was never let a good crisis go to waste, because that's when our clients need us the most, and that's where our value is more than ever. In a strong market, everyone's flying, and every agent's great, and every agent's, you know, worth what they're being paid and all of that sort of thing. But I think when the chips are down and when people are in really, you know, high levels of stress, as in our clients, we have to step up.
Yep.
We have to say, you know, we have to provide a solution. We all had clients who had bought a month beforehand, and all of a sudden are faced with a market that didn't exist anymore. So they look to us for guidance. And I think that's one of the things that I've most appreciated in real estate, the trust and faith that people have in us.
Yep.
To deliver what they need delivered. And I think that's when you just need to, you know, literally get in the trenches and roll your sleeves up and do whatever you have to do to get your clients out of the situation that they're in. And that's how you create clients for life. So we all made a couple of sales in April, I think, and then we all made a few more in May, and we kind of, you know, got used to the new system, and we implemented new systems and new procedures and the 360 tours, and, you know, I think the company, like, we came up with new things that we would never have come up with without COVID.
I remember emailing you about the VR 360, which you had great success with in one particular property. And I'm not saying this just because you're on the screen, but I'm telling you that email that you sent out company-wide, I had a look at that VR, and I reckon I put it on 85% of all of my listings from then on, and fortunate enough to have some success with it. That's moving, adapting, you know, doing what you need to do to still try and service your client and make it easier for buyers to make a decision. And that worked really, really well. And then
and so many people came up with good ideas like that.
Yeah.
Like that's how you come up with, you know, new things when things like that happen. And I remember always thinking that you don't want a client to make a suggestion of something that you should have offered them. You know, you've always got to be a step ahead of your clients.
Yeah.
And always provide a solution before they say to you, why aren't we doing this, or why aren't we doing that? You know when a client tells you something like that, that you've kind of stuffed up a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt, do you find it funny being in the game as long as you have and as long as James has? Do you find it funny that processes and methods get questioned by people that are looking to sell? Like, do you think, well, we've got a system and process that tends to work really, really well, or at the same time, are you quite empathetic to the fact that despite us doing it day in, day out, but they do it once or twice or three times in their lifetime potentially, and you know, they just might want to have a say just to feel more involved.
Yeah, I think we meet all different types of personalities, don't we? All different, you know, all different types of people, and I think we've got to respect what they do as well. So I think, you know, you could turn around and say, would you ask your surgeon if that's the right process and is that the right procedure? And you know the answer is no, of course you wouldn't. But I don't think we've earned the right. We're not surgeons, so we certainly, none of us, well, I don't think many of us have been to school for long enough to be qualified as putting ourselves on the same sort of benchmark as a surgeon. But I think it's good that people question it, because if we never get questioned about things, then maybe we wouldn't know why we're doing them.
Yeah.
And if someone comes up with a question that is actually valid, maybe we shouldn't be doing it like that, or maybe we could look for another way. So I think it's okay to be questioned. It's when they don't trust, I suppose, that's when I kind of think, well, maybe I'm not the right person. And I think, sadly, the general public is a little skeptical of real estate agents, and certainly has been a lot in the past. Yeah. And I would like to think that as a company and as a group of agencies, you know, there's lots of different amazing agents out there in addition to Marshall White, that we are slowly fixing the way that it's done, and we are building ourselves a better reputation. But historically, we haven't had a great reputation, and we haven't been trusted, and we've sometimes people have had the wrong thing done by them. So there's always that skepticism. So I think if there's no trust, then there's no relationship. You know, if you don't have trust, you don't have a relationship. So it's probably not going to go anywhere. But I always believe that if you if you're in contact with them for long enough, I always call it fishing upstream. So I really don't like a company calling, because I don't have time to, how am I going to build rapport? How am I going to build trust? And it's a bit of a lottery. Those people that ring the company and don't necessarily have a relationship with somebody out there, it's often a lottery, isn't it? And, you know, you're gonna win it on the wrong things rather than winning it on the right things. So what I would always encourage people to do is certainly not rely on those as a listing source. They're great if they come your way, and they're great if they fall in your lap. But you got to fish upstream, and you got to play the long game. You know, the longer it takes to get a listing in my book, the greater the chance is that they're just going to take your advice with anything that you say. They'll take your advice around price. They'll take your advice on marketing. They'll generally pay the fee that you want, provided it's fair. And they're pretty much in your hands for the process. But if it's a shorter relationship, I find that a lot tougher, because you haven't had that chance to build trust and build rapport and have that relationship. So that's one thing that I would say to people, especially young people. It's not about you don't chase the listing tomorrow. Like, you got to be always thinking out ahead. We sold something, Dean and Dan and I sold something last week or the week before, and had 14 years of client nurture, you know, like, and I know Tosti and James and Jack and people would say, oh yeah, I did that one for 20 and this and that. And that's amazing. It's just being patient, doing the right thing by people, never having commission breath, never being after the deal. And this lady kept saying to me, oh, I'm so sorry. We've changed our minds so many times.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's your house.
Yeah.
I'll be here for you when you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to your question, I think it's fine if people question the process, that's okay.
Yep.
Because maybe we'll change things for the right reasons. Yeah.
Got it. Very well said, Mads. You had some people, we did, for those who don't work for Marshall White and listen to this, we had a company-wide Zoom last week, which is a little bit of fun, and it ended with Mads basically having people in tears and sending a lot of messages of well wishes.
Wasn't I the only one in tears?
Well, I saw the entire screen, Mads, of over 100 faces, and there was a little bit of Kleenex coming out. Let me tell you, you had them emotional with the decision made after 18 years at Marshall White to change tact and to focus on the local real estate market out in your part of the world. For those who don't know, maybe talk us through how that decision came about, what inspired that decision, and what the future for you in that part of town might hold.
Well, firstly, if you told me this time last year, Matt, that we'd be living in Shoreham and not in Melbourne, and now that I was actually finishing up at Marshall White and about to start down here, I would have absolutely said you are like off your head.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was ever possible. So often people will say to you over the years, oh, you know, would you ever consider moving here or there? And I've always had a mindset that in real estate you can't move, because our market, our clients are our market, and our clients are in the area that we work in.
Yep. And,
you think of your clients and your friends and family and people who move from, interstate or overseas and travel and get relocated, and that's never going to happen in real estate. We are very entrenched in our market. So that was always my mindset. And so, again, blaming it on COVID, because I think COVID has been a wonderful, and I know a lot of people have suffered, so I'm absolutely not making light of what COVID has been like for a lot of people. But it was actually a real blessing for us. We got to spend, Marcus, I think, referred to it the other day as a forced sabbatical. We got to spend time with the kids that we absolutely wouldn't have had. And, we run at a fast pace. Everyone at Marshall White does. We all work very hard. And when you're trying to juggle that with little kids or medium-sized kids or big kids or grandchildren, whatever it is, it's, there's only so many hours in a day, and you just got to work out who's going to get your hours, because real estate take up 24/7 and more if you let it. But you've just got to, I guess, create those boundaries. And with Poppy and Harry, who are nearly 5 and nearly 3, it's kind of like it's just gone so fast. Like, I can't believe the age that they are at. already. And martial art has always been wonderful, allowing me the flexibility to be a mum and to continue with the business.
Yeah.
And to give me grace periods, you know, where I've needed them. And James has always backed me up with clients that I just say, I can't do this today. Like, I can't be there. And James would always step in. And there's lots of Dan would always step in, and so many other people that would step up and help Ash. Lots of people, heaps of amazing people who would just say, yep, I'll do it for you. But to feel like I was often missing out on kinder drop-off and pick-up and concerts and things like that just because real estate got in the way. Well, you know, real estate was obviously, you know, very important, but it was kind of hard to do everything. So when we ended up moving down here, we realised that we could work from home 3 days a week and you know, focus on our phone calls and be around the kids more and that sort of thing, and then spend the other 3 days, you know, in Melbourne and line up our appointments back to back, and that worked really well.
Yep. And
then obviously lockdown hit and we didn't go anywhere in terms of, you know, leaving home, and really loved that. Lockdown was, I know it was tough for a lot of people, but for us it was really, you know, it was really a really nice little just break. And so I just got a tap on the shoulder at a park at the local playground.
Wow.
Weeks ago or 10 weeks ago or some, you know, not long ago, only in October, I think it was, by this woman who's a local, you know, mum, and someone introduced a girl, Sarah Chambers, who used to work at Marshall White in the team. She said, "Oh, Mads, you know Holly? And, you know, have you met Holly before?" And I don't know Holly. Anyway, we got chatting, and Holly said, why don't you work here?" Anyway, the conversation just evolved. I said, "I can't. You know, I'm in Stonington and I can't leave my market." So it was basically, Matt, a very big leap of faith to think that I can just leave my business behind and leave Marshall White behind, and pretty much start again, which is daunting but also really exciting, but be close to the kids.
Yeah. And
be able to do, so Kinder is opposite my new office.
Great.
So Pops is really excited that she can, you know, I'll drop her at Kinder and then I'll, you know, pick her up or whatever, and I can just immerse myself in the local community, because for a little while there I kind of felt like a fraud. So back in Melbourne, I wouldn't tell clients that we lived in Shoreham because I thought they'd use that against me.
Yep.
Or other agents would use it against me.
Yep.
So I kind of just pretend without telling fibs that we were in Armidale.
Yep.
But it's very hard to be part of two communities. And so I just made the decision to, you know, throw caution to the wind and say, I don't want to have any regrets in years to come that I didn't have a crack at something that was put on the table and I was too scared to do it. So, look, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
Or just have a good crack at it and, you know, see how it goes. I think it's a great time to be down here, and even if the market does slow down here, that's okay. It's still a great place to, you know, a great place to sell real estate. So
yeah. Yeah, the kids are young, Mads, but do you reckon they've got a sense or understanding as to the decision that Mum's made to maybe be closer to them?
Probably not Harry, not so much Harry, because he's only, you know, 2.5, 3.
Probably difficult.
But Poppy does.
But Poppy might.
Pops gets it. Because she would literally have a tantrum every morning when she saw me getting my work clothes on.
Yep.
I don't want you to go to Melbourne. She'd be physically attached to my leg. Oh. I'd be like dragging her out to the living room, trying to like detach her from my leg so I can get in the car and go to Melbourne.
Yeah.
So that was never nice.
Yeah. Sounds like some of our clients, Matt.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the kids are happy about it, and I just think it's just a nice lifestyle.
Good on you. Good on you.
Thank you.
Well done, Mads. I want to finish with it sounds like a big word, but the legacy that you might have left, particularly in the four walls at Marshall White, and we were having a nice chat off camera earlier about some of the challenges that women in real estate have faced in the past, continue to face in some offices or organisations around the country. It's predominantly been a male-dominated industry in terms of just more male agents than female agents. In real estate, you've got a long way to ensuring that equality shift or change is now a new balance. And I think you were telling me, Mads, if I'm not wrong, you were one of three women that started with Marsha White, and that might have expanded to something like 30 over your journey, which no doubt you're pretty proud of.
Yeah. In sales. In sales agent. Yeah. So when I started at Marsha White, I think I was around about employee number 50. Was on my old little paper pay slip that I used to get. I think I was employee number 50. And certainly as in terms of sales agents, it was Ray and Joanna and myself.
Ray Tomlinson and Joanna Nan. Yep.
Joanna Nan, yeah. And obviously, trailblazers in terms of the work that they've done in the industry for women. So I think we've come a long way, because I reckon there's probably, I haven't counted, but 30 or more, female sales agents now. And then obviously, amazing team of female, property managers, and who are, Paul has been incredible in terms of the way that she runs that department, and the loyalty and the retention, and so no one ever leaves. I just love it so much. So I think we've come a long way. It is a little bit tougher. I'm not gonna harp on it though, because people probably think I'm getting the violin out, but it is a bit tougher just trying to juggle. And as I said earlier, I think females do have a bit of an unfair advantage. Kate Strickland always says that, we've got the unfair advantage to men, but it is harder. It's a harder gig, but I think we've come a long way, and I think there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that women are the future of real estate. In terms of that's why we've always encouraged, or make sure there's you've got some balance of women within your team, so that you can offer your clients the choice, because you've always got to make sure your client's comfortable with their team. You can't force a team on a client. So I think we have got we're lucky now that we have got lots of amazing women. You mentioned people like Georgia Whitford, who's just an absolute, I don't even know how she does it, the way she matches a buyer to a property. She's just a seriously magician. I said that to her the other day. I think you're a magician the way you do that. And other women who've come from other agencies, and women who, like Eva tonight just sold her first listing in the Hawthorn office, and so Sarah Wood, and Kate Strickland. There's so many. Fiona Ansell Jones, who's come from another industry, and absolutely made her stamp on real estate. The likes of Barb Gregory, and I shouldn't even be mentioning names because I'm obviously going to miss very important people, but in all aspects of the business. And then we've got admin. How amazing are our admin ladies who literally get very little recognition, but they are the backbone to what we do. We literally couldn't do what we do day to day without those women. Do it without fuss. They do it, standing on their ear, and they keep our clients happy so that we can get on and get the property sold.
I was out at some Team One drinks for Christmas the other night, and we we being the team, bumped into a few other teams that were out and about, enjoying some Christmas celebrations and having a lot of fun. And geez, it was just nice to see people out and about again, and being in each other's company, and everybody clearly had some nice energy about them. But Mads, it was nice to see all of the teams out together, all of the admin together, and the sales agents, and they are little units within the whole organisation. And nice to see that that admin and people behind the scenes are getting some recognition and some just desserts.
And those things like that mean the world to them. Like that recognition and being invited out for the, team dinners, or we did some Zoom dinners during the year, and we get recognition in monetary ways from our clients and from what we earn from what we do. But the admin, ladies just do an amazing job. So, I mean, Tosti always talks about it, just rewarding them and giving them this and giving them that and just saying thank you.
Yeah.
Like we always, just like to say just thanks at the end of the day, or thanks at the end of every phone call, or thanks at the end of every Zoom meeting. Just thank you. It's pretty simple, but it means a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
To those girls.
Well done. Well done. It's a beautiful sentiment, I reckon, Mads, to finish up on. Zoomcast, of course, on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you can find a podcast. Mads, it's been a pleasure. Look, we jumped on late. I'm going to try and pump this one out before the Christmas party kicks off tomorrow, so that if anybody goes for an early morning walk just to clear the mind before they get out and about with their colleagues, they might put the headphones in and just listen to some nice tales and nice stories of what has been one of the great journeys at Marshall White. Kudos to you, Mads. You've always been really nice to me and helped me personally, and I know you've got a lot of great connections there that will last a lifetime. So well done.
That's what I said to someone the other day. Like, I'm only a phone call away. I'm not dead.
Good.
So, yeah, look forward to keeping in touch with everyone. And, I've made so many amazing friends and people that I literally consider family. So, I kind of still feel like I'll always be connected to Marshall White. So, yeah, doesn't feel like I'm going far.
No, phone call away. Well done. Make sure Mr. Redfern's in good spirits tomorrow as well, please.
He definitely will be. Yeah, he's just ironing his trousers at the moment.
We'll cut it here. Thanks again, Mads.
Thanks, Matt. See you tomorrow.